also known as Nichiren Daishonin, is the father of Nichiren Buddhism, whose millions of followers are spread across the world today. Nichiren was considered a controversial Buddhist monk in Japan, often engaging in social and political action during the Kamakura period in the 13th century. Nichiren introduced his revelation in Buddhist teaching, which uses the chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, or praise to the Lotus Sutra. Through his zealous missionary works, Nichiren quickly gained the attention of the public, who often persecuted him for his optimistic teachings and criticisms against other forms of Buddhism. Nevertheless, Nichiren's teachings gradually won the hearts of many Japanese people, that Nichiren Buddhism eventually branched out into various subsects. Nichiren was born in the fishing village of Kominato in the province of Awa, the current-day Chiba prefecture, on February 16, 1222. His father, Mikuni no Taifu Nukina Jiro Shigetada, and his mother, Umegikunyo, gave him the name of Zennichimaru. Even before his birth, his parents had a premonition in their dreams that their child would be special. According to Ubuyu Soju no Koto, which is said to be written by one of Nichiren's 6 senior disciples, Nikko Shonin, about the things that Nichiren orally had said, on the day of his birth, a blue lotus plant suddenly sprouted and blossomed a vivid flower in the beach, and spring water suddenly gushed out of the sand. This place still exists today, which is called to as Rengegafuchi, or Lotus Pool. Nichiren refers to himself as a child of fishermen in his book Honzonmon Dosho, and a child of a Sendala family in Sado Gosho. Sendala means an outcast and is a person from the India's lowest caste system whose job involves killing of animals. Due to his common origin, his teachings especially appeal to the people of the low social status. At the age of 11, Nichiren entered the Seichoji temple, or also called as Kiyosumi-dera, where he received Buddhist as well as secular education and began his quest for questions about life. Studying under the chief priest Dozen, Nichiren officially became a priest at the age of 15, shaving his head and taking the monk name of Zeshobo Rencho. Shortly thereafter, he journeyed to Kamakura, the capital city of the feudal military government shogunate, and all over Japan to continue his study in depth. Kyoto and Nara area were perfect places to deepen his understanding, for they were the major religious centers for Buddhist education at this time. During his years of traveling, he'd acquired a first-hand experience of all the predominant sects of the Buddhism practiced in Japan, such as Nembutsu, Pure Land piety, Zen meditation, Shingon esotericism, Ritsu, and Tendai. Not being able to understand why there were multiple forms of Buddhism, nor which sect was correct, he sought to study sutras in order to discover for himself what Shakyamuni Buddha actually had taught. He believed that there must be only one true teachings of the Buddha. At the age of 20, Nichiren entered Enryakuji Temple, a head temple of the Tendai sect in Japan, located at Mount Hiei, where he studied for 11 years. While Nichiren agreed with the Tendai school that Ekayana, or one vehicle for all, is the truth, he came to conclude that only the Lotus Sutra is the essential original doctrines of the original Buddha. Shakyamuni Buddha is a historical figure who attained enlightenment in India. He predicted in the Great Collection Sutra, Daijukukyo, that the world would enter an age of strife and religious confusion 2,000 years after his death. Quarrels and disputes will arise among the adherents to my teachings, and the pure law will become obscured and lost. He called this age Mappo, or the latter day of the law. During the lifetime of Nichiren, the actual conditions in the society substantiated these predictions. The social order deteriorated, and there were frequent occurrences of natural disasters, famine, and epidemics. Shakyamuni also predicted the original or true Buddha, the fundamental master of all Buddhas, would appear in the world to teach the true Buddhism in the latter day of the law, replacing earlier teachings of the Shakyamuni Buddha. Nichiren takes on this role. Nichiren states, "Now in the latter day of the law, neither the Lotus Sutra nor the other sutras lead to enlightenment. Only Nam-myoho Renge-kyo can do so, and this is not merely my own opinion. Shakyamuni, as well as the innumerable bodhisattvas of the earth, have so determined. A lamp will be useless after the sun rises. How can dewdrops be beneficial once the rain falls?" Thus he proclaimed his new faith, declaring to the universe his mission to spread the ultimate truth of enlightenment. It is Myo-renge-kyo that is the true Buddha. On the morning of April 28, 1953, shortly after returning to Seichoji Temple, Nichiren faced the rising sun at the top of Mount Kiyosumi and powerfully chanted Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, which is otherwise referred to as the great title or daimoku of the Lotus Sutra. He then changed his name to Nichiren, which means Sun Lotus. On the same day, he delivered a first sermon in the temple and criticized the most popular form of Buddhism at that time, Pure Land. Pure Land Buddhism taught that Buddhahood could only be attained after death by chanting Niefo, or the name of Amida Buddha, the Buddha of infinite light. Nichiren taught that by chanting Daimoku, one can receive the ultimate truth of Lotus Sutra and attain Buddhahood in one's lifetime. Nichiren was actively involved in political actions as a means to spread the correct Buddhism to all the Japanese people. When many natural disasters shook Japan, including the Great Earthquake of 1257, Nichiren took an active role. People's suffering was unbearable at that time, and in response to such calamities, Nichiren wrote Rissho Akutokuron on securing the peace of the land through the propagation of true Buddhism. His statement described that the fundamental cause for the disasters was due to the government and people's disregarding of the Lotus Sutra and Shakyamuni's teachings. It was the root cause of all aspects of social instability, calamities, famines, and epidemics. He further stated that unless people convert to the true law and disengage themselves from other erroneous sects, the country would face civil wars and foreign invasions. If people selected the correct doctrine to practice, peace and prosperity would be restored. Nichiren believed that positive faith in an individual to attain Buddhahood in this life would be able to transform the world into a pure land, as mentioned in the Lotus Sutra. On July 16, 1260, Nichiren submitted this document to the most powerful man within the Kamakura shogunate, a retired regent named Hojo Tokiyogi. He urged government to stop sponsoring false teachings of Buddhism and instead encouraged for spiritual reform for the sake of the Japanese people in order to overcome sufferings. Despite Nichiren's effort to promote religious reform, the military rulers of Japan as well as Pure Land believers did not accept his criticisms, including Governor Tojo Kagenobu. The Pure Land monks, followed up by government officials, responded by attacking his residence in Matsubagayatsu on the night of August 27, 1260, about 1 month after submitting Rissho Akutokuron. Nichiren avoided violent persecution by fleeing Kamakura and sought refuge with Tokijoni in Shimosa province. During this time of refuge, Nichiren influenced important Japanese aristocratic warriors such as Ota Jomyo and Soya Kyoshin, who became followers of Nichiren's teachings. They both received many letters from Nichiren himself. Following the attack of Matsubagayatsu, Nichiren faced a series of severe persecutions continuously for several years that threatened his life. A particularly famous case occurred in 1269 when a letter from the Mongol Emperor Kublai Khan arrived in Japan threatening invasion. Foreign invasion, as Nichiren predicted in Rissho Akutokuron, seemed to become a reality. Nichiren sent a letter to the government and 11 religious leaders on October 11, 1269, urging them once again to turn away from false teachings. Angered by the letters, the shogunate arrested Nichiren on September 12, 1271. Nichiren was taken to the execution ground in Tatsunokuchi without a legal trial. He was magically saved from execution when a brilliant ball of light flew across the sky from the direction of Enoshima Island towards the northwest. The executioner was blinded by the light, and frightened samurai soldiers ran away. This event was a pivotal moment in Nichiren's life because he relinquished his true identity as the true Buddha. Having fulfilled the missions, Nichiren believed himself to be the manifestation of the true Buddha, who established the true Buddhism to enable mankind to attain Buddhahood in the latter day of the law. Nichiren's execution did not take place. Instead, he was ordered to be exiled to Sado Island on October 10, 1271, and was pardoned in March 1274. Upon returning to Kamakura, Nichiren tried to convince the government for the third time, realizing that the government will not be awakened to the true teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha. In May 12, 1274, Nichiren left Kamakura and withdrew himself in Mount Minobu, where he began training his disciples. He later sent them as missionaries in various locations in order to propagate the true Buddhism. His missionaries too faced fierce oppositions. Notably, the 1279 Atsuwara persecution was the most severe persecution. War Minister Nagasaki Yoritsuna arrested Nichiren followers, and 3 of Nichiren's disciples were beheaded for refusing to abandon their faith in the Lotus Sutra. Nichiren slowly fell ill, which forced him to leave Mount Minobu to hot springs in Hitachi. Knowing that his time for nirvana was approaching, he called his 6 major disciples and appointed them to carry on his work after his death. At the age of 61, Nichiren passed away. It is said that at this moment, the earth trembled and cherry trees in the garden blossomed out of the season.